And what we do as people is we do the same things. We allow our environment to dictate to us. We allow our friends to dictate to us, our circle of associates to dictate to us how high we jump. When I was in the 6th grade and the teacher asked me what I wanted to be when I grow up, and she had everybody write an assignment on a piece of paper, I wrote down on a piece of paper I wanted to be on TV. She called everybody's name and had them stand up at their desk, and when she got to mine, she said, "Little Stevie, come up to the front of the class." I'm thinking this is a great moment for me. I've written something on my paper so wonderful that it's better than all the rest. I'm going up to get a gold star. I got up there, she said, "Why did you write that on your paper?" And I said, "Because that was our assignment for today." She said, "But why did you write it on your paper, though?" I said, "Because I want to be on TV." Then she just started breaking me down. Who do you know on TV? Anybody in this school ever been on TV? No, ma'am. Anybody in your family ever been on TV? No, ma'am. She just destroyed me in front of these cats. I thought I was getting a gold star, found out I wasn't. I was heartbroken. She reported me to my parents, and I'm being a smart aleck in class, sent me home with the note pinned on me. I got home, I'm thinking I'm in a world of trouble. My mom tells my dad that I've been a smart aleck in class, and I'm writing down stuff that's unrealistic. He said, "Well, what did you want to be, son?" I said, "I wrote on my paper, I want to be on TV." He looked at my mother and said, "Well, what's wrong with that?" She said, "Because the teacher says that's unreasonable." He said, "How does she know?" And that was the first moment that I found out that my father, who had a 3rd grade education, who my mother taught to read and write, I said, "Man, this guy's on to something." So he told me what did she want you to write? I said, "A policeman or fireman or ball player." She said, "Write that on the paper and give it back to her." She said, "But every morning when you wake up, take your paper, put it in your drawer. Read your paper every morning when you wake up, and read your paper every night before you go to bed. If you turn your TV on today, the little boy in the 6th grade is on TV." Very true statement.
You know how intimidating it is to go to Boston in the first place. But I'm going to go, and I'm going to stand up for myself. And I said, "Richard's making more money than I am, and I don't think that's fair because we're doing the same job. We sit in the same show. We did the same." And my general manager said, why should you make as much money as he? And I said, "Because we're doing the same job." And he said, "But he has children. Do you have children?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, he has to pay for college educations. He owns his own home. Do you own your home?" I said, "No." He said, "He has a mortgage to pay. He has insurance. Do you have that?" "No." "So tell me, why do you need the same amount of money?" And I said, "Thank you for your time." And I left. I left. I didn't complain about it. I didn't file a suit about it. I knew that in that moment, it was time for me to go. And that I started the process for myself of preparing myself for, you will not be here long. You are not going to be able to get what you need. I had a boss at the time who was African-American and had just been, for the first time, made an assistant news director, and was drunk with power, and felt it I think he woke up in the morning thinking of things he could do to harass me. I decided not to file a suit against it because I knew at the time I would lose, that no good would come of it, that I would be blackballed in television, that it would turn into a major thing, and I knew I didn't have long to stay there. I had a vision for what the future was, even though I couldn't place exactly where my future would be. I knew who held the future, because I am really guided by a force that's bigger than myself. I know that my being here on the planet is not just of my own making.
So you use that as momentum to just leave, cut your losses, and go?
No, I filed it away. I go, there will come a time.
It's gonna come back. Yeah, you were right. I think you were right.
I will be sitting in the same room, and it happened, like in the late 90s, I had the Oprah show, and I ran into that guy. Lord Jesus, thank you.
My second story is about love and loss. I was lucky. I found what I loved to do early in life. Woz and I started Apple in my parents' garage when I was 20. We worked hard, and in 10 years, Apple had grown from just the two of us in a garage into a $2 billion company with over 4,000 employees. We just released our finest creation, the Macintosh, a year earlier, and I just turned 30. And then I got fired. How can you get fired from a company you started? Well, as Apple grew, we hired someone who I thought was very talented to run the company with me. And for the first year or so, things went well. But then our visions of the future began to diverge, and eventually we had a falling out. When we did, our board of directors sided with him. And so at 30, I was out, and very publicly out. What had been the focus of my entire adult life was gone, and it was devastating. I really didn't know what to do for a few months. I felt that I had let the previous generation of entrepreneurs down, that I had dropped the baton as it was being passed to me. I met with David Packard and Bob Noyce and tried to apologize for screwing up so badly. I was a very public failure, and I even thought about running away from the Valley. But something slowly began to dawn on me. I still loved what I did. The turn of events at Apple had not changed that one bit. I'd been rejected, but I was still in love. And so I decided to start over. I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again, less sure about everything. It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. During the next 5 years, I started a company named Next, another company named Pixar, and fell in love with an amazing woman who would become my wife. Pixar went on to create the world's first computer animated feature film, Toy Story, and is now the most successful animation studio in the world. In a remarkable turn of events, Apple bought Next, and I returned to Apple, and the technology we developed at Next is at the heart of Apple's current renaissance. And Lorene and I have a wonderful family together. I'm pretty sure none of this would have happened if I hadn't been fired from Apple. It was awful tasting medicine, but I guess the patient needed it. Sometimes life's going to hit you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going was that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love. And that is as true for work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking and don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. And like any great relationship, it just gets better and better as the years roll on. So keep looking, don't settle.